to my phone anyway. Want to call to order study session for St. John, August 17th, 2022. Sergio, roll call, please.
Bob Burleson,
Here.
Yolanda Cardona,
Here.
Joe Gomestego,
Here.
Bob Valois,
Here.
Attorney Adam Decker.
Here.
I'm sorry, I skipped other people. Jason Vlasic will not be here. John Kennedy will not be here. And then we got Engineer Ken Kraus
Here.
and Councilman Liaison Brian Blazak
Present.
and Town Manager Joe Wizawati is not in.
All right, very good. First item on the list, item A, Astoria, proposed preliminary plat of Astoria at 10122 Parish Avenue.
Hello, my name's Michael with Diamond Peak, 1313 Whitehawk Drive. Do have a few updates regarding our Astoria project. As you all know, on August 3rd at the public meeting, the day of that meeting, TC Energy, the pipeline that runs through there, threw a curveball at us with some verbiage on federal regulations. Since that meeting, we've had communication back and forth. For the record, we have not seen any sort of federal regulation citations. So we are currently going through a variance process with the pipeline to work on the road crossing over the pipeline to make sure that we can meet the town ordinances as best as possible. So with that being said, like I said, we're going through the proper procedures for that. We are anticipating an answer from them within the next week or two. At the time that they mentioned the variance, they said it was probably a 2 to 3 week turnaround time, plus or minus. So again, right now we've been following up. They still say we're on track. So again, within the next week or two, we should have that variance regarding that road width over the pipeline. Other things, I know our engineers have been in touch with Ken Kraus regarding a few more T crossings and I dottings regarding easements, outlots, street names and whatnot. So I know, again, a lot of clerical information that should be cleaned up in time for the public hearing on September 7th. Again, short and sweet tonight. Just wanted to give a few updates on what we've come across since our last meeting here. And then, yeah, I'm here for any questions, comments, concerns from you guys.
I wasn't here at the August 3rd, so the pipeline is reducing the road width over the pipeline?
So
Is that
they
what's going
claim
on?
that there were federal regulations that our maximum road width was to be 25 feet over the pipeline. Again, they mentioned the word federal regulations the day of that public meeting, so we didn't have time to rebut anything with them and get some solid answers from them. There was some back and forth prior to that, it was their general guidelines and conditions. However, they didn't really come to the table with hard evidence of that information.
Okay.
So when they mentioned, go ahead.
And what's St. John's width for this subdivision?
30
30
feet.
feet?
Mm-hmm.
Does it affect the drainage at all, Ken?
No.
You don't need extra inlets or, okay.
No, but because the pipeline does not allow vibratory compaction, we have to put in a heftier sub-base and base to handle that. So, and they have that detail on their drawing. So if they get the okay from the pipeline that allows us to put the 30-foot in, that's the base we're going to use. If they say no on the width, we still have to use that base.
And it's asphalt?
No, it's
Are there-
stone grid, stone, and then asphalt.
Asphalt, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I had I don't know, a handful of items that still need to be addressed. And then there's a bunch of items on the easements. We just got the plans that showed easements just late last week. And I've talked with Tom Peterman and Aaron at Cage, and I'll get them a complete list tomorrow, and hopefully they can clear that up. I'm only worried about, there's a couple places where we have pipelines, like on this map here, it's lots 28 and 67. There's a water line that runs on the north property line there, but there's no easement to put that water line in. So there's places where easements need to be added, and then there's other places where the utility is like right on the edge of the easement, and it's not in the easement. So they're supposed to be able to take that and move things around so that that's not the case
Right.
anymore.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
I have a question. I was talking to our Public Works Director, and we were looking at that, and I showed him where the 25-foot road is gonna go in, and you're gonna put plowable reflectors on that roadway, correct?
That would be the plan.
We would prefer you did not.
Did not?
Yes.
Okay.
Because those get tore up, and then we have to replace them anyways, and they tear up the road, so.
Okay.
We would prefer you did not.
Yep. I will make note of that.
I mean, I'm not sure how the rest of the board feels, but, I mean, that's just my opinion.
You don't normally see those in a residential
Right.
subdivision anyway.
Right.
Has this happened anywhere else, Ken? Where we cross?
No, the last 4 crossings in Greystone, we put in 30-foot wide roads and.
No issue.
No issues with the sidewalks or the width of the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not.
And that was part of our discussion with them after they didn't come to the table with any sort of federal regulations. I went around, took pictures, took snapshots on the Lake County GIS and showed, hey, I mean, you've got multiple areas here within the town that it's been allowed. So
Yeah,
that's when they kind of came back with, okay, we'll send it to the higher ups for a variance. And
Okay.
they didn't confirm it, but it does sound like they're willing to play ball with us.
Yeah. Seems strange. This. Okay. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Next item on the list, Crop Industrial, proposed development site plan for ULOC self-storage facility, 10460 Joliet Street.
Thanks.
Good evening, Doug Reddick with DVG, representing 41 ULOC. This project here on
Thank you.
Crop Industrial Park that was recently approved as a one-lot subdivision. Ken Drenth is the owner. He's handing out some photographs of his current self-storage facility in Schererville, just to give you an idea of what he hopes this project will look like as well. Because it's basically going to be a sister facility to the one he already owns and operates. We did work on the site plan a little bit, change things around. One of the things we did is we eliminated the driveway that paralleled Hart Street, and now we don't have an issue with the driveway in front of the buildings that sit on face Hart Street. So now we have probably a cleaner facade where we can landscape alongside those buildings without it being an issue. And I think it eliminates one of the waivers we were talking about. So the site plan changed just a little bit. We met the 60-foot setback requirement. That's not a problem. So we have a 60-foot building line. And so I do want to talk a little bit about the waivers that we need. And Sergio and I have been communicating a little bit, and I think Mr. Decker got involved a little bit. We know we need a waiver for parking. There's what I call an unusual ordinance regarding parking required for self-storage facilities, and it's 1 for every 500 square feet of floor area, is how we're interpreting it. And we have something like 75,000 square feet of floor area, which would equate to 150 parking spaces. It just, I think there's an error in the ordinance. We thought maybe it meant 1 parking space for every 500 square feet of office. If you had an office, which he does at his other facility, this one will not have an office. It's all keyless, keypad entry and no office. So if you had a 2,000 square foot office, you might need 4 parking spaces to accommodate anybody that's coming in to rent a unit or pay a bill or whatever. But even all the payments are done electronically too. So we're definitely going to need a variance for parking, and I think it's pretty obvious that there's an issue with that part of the ordinance. And I apologize, I had a lot of meetings tonight, and I didn't bring the email about the other
I
variances. Hoping Sergio can refresh
do.
my memory.
Yeah, I can brief
Yeah.
brief you and the commission. So we have been talking with with Attorney Adam Decker, and we reviewed the ordinances that we were under consideration. And so it appears that there are actually, you're correct, there's 24,492 variance for regards to the parking, and then the other variance we were looking at would be ordinance 516E2 that deals with screening along adjacent uses not compatible with the current use. So that would possibly be along the north side of the development, I'm sorry, the east side of the development. Is that right? Yeah. This section here along the roadway, because you have residential zone across the street there.
Right, the property across the street is zoned residential, but it's undevelopable.
Yeah, it's
a
marsh.
Marsh, exactly. So I think we're trying to discuss, is that truly necessary to have a screening there when we have acres and acres of undeveloped land? And there is no residences across the street from this. They're to the north and to the south.
That's the only two?
Yes, those are the only two.
But there was another one we talked about, that, which one did we want Mr. Decker to?
We reviewed the setback requirement. You had identified that it would be a 60-foot setback, so there was no need for variance there. The other variance we looked at was the brick masonry.
That's the one.
And it was interpreted based on the 2009 ordinance that the intent is not to, or would not be for industrial buildings.
These type of buildings, that's what we
Correct.
thought.
Yep.
Okay.
We reviewed the 516, the variance regarding screening, which is 516E2. We determined that it is a land use that's not compatible across the street, so that would be applicable for variance. The other variance that dealt with 24,519 was related to PUDs. This is not a PUD. And then no variance because there was an amendment to the revised site plan, which you indicated earlier, so there was no variance required on that end. But there was also some discussion regarding waivers that are granted by the Plan Commission with regards to outdoor lighting, but I'm assuming there won't be any requirements or waivers requested for that?
I don't think we'll need it. We'll be
Okay.
able to comply.
Okay, so that was that.
So then we'll set up with the BZA to take care of the variances that we need, and then we'll come back to the Plan Commission and keep it moving.
I'll follow up with an email with citing those two codes that
Thank you.
in review, so I apologize for not getting it to you sooner.
That's okay. And then I knew we were going to meet tonight, so we'll get on the next BZA agenda and handle that. Sure.
What about fencing? The fencing, will the black, like I have in these photos?
Yeah, he used a black chain link fence on the other site, and he'd like to use a similar fence. Now, we have very little fencing along the frontage. We did have a lot of fencing along the frontage, but because we eliminated the roadway that parallels Hart Street, now we have basically buildings along our frontage and just little pieces of fencing in between the buildings and up by the gate. So the question is, will a black chain link fence suffice and meet the ordinance for that little bit of fencing that will be visible from Hart Street? I forget how that was worded in the ordinance. Sergio.
I believe it did not have a conflict with the ordinance based on the current zone classification, which was an I, industrial zone.
Okay.
Yep.
So he and I will confirm those variances, and
Okay.
that'll be our next step. Any other questions?
There was, someone brought up, one of the members brought up about like turning radiuses on the corners.
Yeah. We did, and then
Was that,
we didn't submit it yet, but we've ran what we call auto turn. Ken's familiar with it, to run a fire truck through multiple self-storage facilities. We've designed several of them in the last couple of years, and these roadway widths absolutely meet requirements for fire truck access.
okay,
So, and we could provide the drawings to back that up. We also addressed, Ken and I talked about like snow plowing. And we kind of moved the fence back in some places so he could push snow into the retention ponds. It keeps the fence in better shape, gives them some places to push the snow, because that's obviously a maintenance issue when we have a lot of snow on the ground. People need to get to their units. So we did move the fence around a little bit to give him friendlier access for moving snow and so forth. But he still wants to keep it fenced for security purposes, obviously.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay,
We'll be back with the BZA soon.
okay. Next item C, Streamside, proposed rezone to RC-2 PUD, single-family residential conservation plan unit development for a proposed 54 single-family lot subdivision at West 12811 109th Avenue.
Just in case. Eyes are a lot better than mine. My name is Chip Krusmark. I work for Olthoff Homes at 8051 Wicker Avenue in St. John. We attempted to hook up my laptop so I didn't have to rely on Sergio to jump around on the presentation, and we had mediocre success. So I'm afraid Sergio's got to run the show here for us tonight. At our last meeting, which was July 6th, we talked about our project, which is located at the southwest corner of 109th and White Oak Avenue. And a number of comments came from that meeting that I wanted to try to address tonight. And if we go to the first page, it just has the layout. And nothing significant has changed in the site layout. The main thing that has changed was one of the requests was to run the boardwalk / bike path along the south side of 109th Avenue. We kind of push back a little bit because we'd be taking it, once we dedicate right-of-way, we'll be taking this bike path through a wetlands. But we agreed that we will do that and figure out a way to make that happen. So at the top center of the site, you'll see that kind of light gray line, right about by the word path almost there. It goes through about 200 or 250 feet of wetlands. So we're going to put that in. We'll figure out a way to make that happen. And then what we did was we eliminated the path that kind of ran between the detention pond and the wetland. That's exactly right. Yeah, where his green arrow is. So we didn't have a need for that any longer since the path was on the south side of 109th. Otherwise, the plan has not changed. That bike path is also continues to be on the west side of White Oak Avenue from 109th all the way down to our property border. That was one of the items that was mentioned. Another mentioned item was irrigation. There was a concern about irrigation on the entry at White Oak Avenue. And we had thought maybe initially the concern was, are you going to irrigate it? And it was maybe too much irrigation. And so I think it was requested that we limit it to 200 feet on either side of the entry. So we put that in the PUD. It's under page 6, section 10, that we limit it to 200 feet on either side of the entryway. And that was one of the requests that was made at the July meeting. Let's see, after irrigation, the next thing had to do with anti-monotony. If you could jump to the next slide, please, sir. What we wanted to do is maybe show some of the samples. And, you know, between a printer and a screen, you don't always get the true colors. So I'm going to pass this around so you all can take a look at some of the colors that we'll be offering. And obviously that's the real deal, as opposed to computer screens may change the coloring a little bit, or the printout may be a little bit different. But those are the colors of the siding that we'll be offering. Now, that's not to say that between now and next year when we start building homes, perhaps LP won't offer a color and instead they'll offer something different. But I think you get the idea that there's quite a variety that we're able to choose from here. Another thing that kind of goes towards the monotony is the masonry. And obviously, I've hauled in most of our front office here. The image is up here. And I apologize for anybody who's behind me because I'll probably have to be hauling these things out. I think I'll just wait till they're done. Otherwise, I'm just going to be a nuisance. I'll be huffing and puffing. So, but you can see here we've got a number of different varieties of stone. And so we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 brick. So we've got quite a variety. And the whole intent is to make sure that things are mixed up better than we have in the past. And you'll see as we get into the monotony language how that all works. So a lot of effort to show that there's a lot of variety we can use. We found too that more than built-to-order homes, we're doing more spec homes, and that allows us to maybe choose things more than the customer. So if somebody came in and everybody wanted a gray house, which we've seen a lot of them lately, we can head that off at the pass and choose some of these other colors so that it is a bigger variety. So one page was masonry. He's got the brick up there already, so I won't bore you with that. And then the next page shows some shutters, some shingles, which we have here. Ironically, as I pulled one of them out tonight, I said, weathered wood. I just put that in my house last year. Amazing. Apparently it's quite popular. I know my wife likes it, and I didn't really care. If that's what makes her happy, I'm all for it. Another question came up with trim colors. And many of our homes, there's a question about like Walden Clearing. Most of those homes do have white trim. There's a few beige, there's a few gray. But we're going to make sure that we have all 3 colors available, the white, the beige, and the gray. And again, actually the beige is called linen. But we will offer all of those colors, and we will mix them up with the homes in an appropriate way such that, you know, we don't put linen on a home that would look terrible with linen on it. But there's a number of varieties there that we can work with. And garage doors, we are saying in our PD that all our garage doors will have windows in them and or some architectural treatments, but at a minimum, they'll have windows. Unfortunately, I grabbed an image that had one garage door with no windows. My fault. All of them will have windows. So please disregard that image. Now the next slide, thank you, Sergio, is the anti-monotony diagram. And what we're attempting to do here, which for the most part kind of mirrors your ordinance, is make sure we've got that variety. And certainly we have the siding, we have the brick, we have the masonry to be able to make that all happen. And this is kind of the document that says exactly how that is going to happen. And you can certainly look at this, and you know we use like the subject home, which is the orange one, kind of in the bottom center. And you know the homes on lots A across the street next door cannot have the same floor plan, nor can they have the same siding and masonry and trim combination that home has. So not only does that have to be a whole different floor plan, it has to be a whole different color, whole different siding, everything, masonry. And then we jump to the blue homes, which are across the street, one to the side. They also can't have the same floor plan. They can't have the same elevation, and I'm probably rambling and getting into too much detail, and you're going to lose your mind here pretty soon. But anyway, the intent is to make sure that there's a lot of variety and that the same home is 4 or 5 houses away from each other. The next page kind of summarizes your section 24-130, and it was kind of a cut and paste on the right side. This is your language that says, in any subdivision with 8 or more homes, there'll be no more than 8 alternate front facades. Well, we'll have about 40 in total to choose from. So we won't have any problem with that. And then your ordinance talks about, the house will not be repeated next to itself or across the street, and one over. We go so far, on the left I say that, not only will we not have the same facade, we won't have the same color. So we're stepping up above that. And then where it says across the street and one over, we can't build a house in your ordinance, we're going one more over. So we're actually going to be more strict than what the ordinance calls for. And one of the things also talks about different design elements. And some of our homes will meet these and some of them won't, but on most every one, we're going to meet every one of these. Or we're going to meet at least 1 to 3 of them. And I think your code says we have to meet at least 1. And that has to do with the color, porch location, building materials, balconies, dormers, all sorts, window configurations, all sorts of stuff. Bottom line, we're going to exceed the ordinance. The next page, I I didn't want to put this in the PUD because these things change a little bit, and they can be interpreted different ways. But each of our floor plans, each of our homes, say it's a 2,800 square foot home, can typically be purchased with a different elevation, whether it's a Craftsman, traditional, shingle, farmhouse. And this kind of shows, in a nutshell, what some of those differences might be on each of those homes, whether it's the siding, the accent siding, the shutters, type of masonry or brick, the window trim. Some have an extended or flared top. Some are just a straight trim, and columns out on your porch. So, and gables, various architectural enhancements. So that's just to kind of show that, in a nutshell, each of the plans has something a little bit different. So you've got a variety, even if it's the same house, using 4 or 5 different plans. So there's a couple pages of that, and you can certainly look at that at your leisure. And then what I tried to do was I picked one floor plan. Now, we are saying that all of our homes here will have, we've committed to a 2.5 garage at minimum. So there'll either be 2.5 or 3-car garages. This is a newer plan that we have come together, we put together recently. And all I was trying to do here was show the same floor plan with a couple different elevations. Now, this one is more of the Craftsman. It's got the gable detail on the roof. It's got a couple of clip roofs on the top there. It's got the batten. This one has a kind of a white stone, a very light stone, which I think is probably lighter than it really is. But again, computer printers, and they'll make things look a little funny. If you go to the next page, it shows what we consider more of a traditional plan. It's a different color masonry, it's different color siding, different color, different pitches and gables. Again, showing a pretty good variety. And then the next page is the same thing. Same floor plan, but different elevation. This is also more of a traditional plan. This one has, rather than 2 forward-facing gables, 1, different window orientations. And then I think the third or fourth one here is the what we call a shingle style, which has like a shake look on it, and that's it. It's got the shed roof on the dormer up above, and again, the detail work in the gables, and then the angle supports on the porch columns. And I think is there one more in here? Nope, that's the end. That was one more. And the next one is farmhouse, and that one's predominantly, board and batten up on top, a bigger porch area, and then the truss treatment up in the gable. This slide, and also one of the things we have acquiesced to is 30% masonry on our homes. Everything I've showed you in this model 2897 has been between 42 and 55% masonry. But we have told you that we will have 30% or more. And this slide was just to kind of show, well, here's a couple different homes that show different levels of masonry. The first one's a ranch, and it's got masonry, and again, it's a little hard to see on this image. It's got masonry at a knee wall level on the left below the 2 windows, and then around the garage, and then on the 3rd-car garage, it's got it halfway up. But that's roughly 32% masonry, and looks like the computer is going to take a dump on us. There we go. The home to the right of that is roughly 44% masonry. Bottom left is 36, and the bottom right's 42. Again, we're committing to 30. Some of the other images I've showed you will get as high as 55 or 60. But I just wanted you to see what some of those different percentages look like in the real world and how they look. The next image is kind of showing, and it's not meant to be a pretty image, but it just shows on each row is a particular floor plan, and then it shows the different styles of homes. So the top row, there's a Craftsman or traditional, 2 traditionals, a shingle, and a farmhouse. So we have roughly about 40 different elevations that we can work with. Now, that's not to say that there might be some similarities between one or the other, but that's why we have this anti-monotony that'll say we won't have the same colors and the same combinations next to each other, even if it's a completely different house. We don't want to have a gray and a gray and a gray. We'll have a gray and a blue and a white and something like that. So, another thing that was requested of us was, let's see, where am I at? Draft language in the CCRs. For our covenants and restrictions, it was brought up, what if the HOA goes under? And we haven't had that happen, but that's a valid question. And it was requested that we have some language in our CCNRs that reflects that if something should happen and the city were to step in and remedy some problem or challenge, that the city has the option of charging that back to the individual homeowners to make sure they are not at a financial loss, whether that's for labor, equipment, legal fees even. So we had our attorney draft this. This is not even good bedtime reading, but this is something that we would offer up, and if we need to tweak it back and forth, we're happy to do that. But we think it's a good step towards making sure that the town is not burdened with anything should an HOA have a problem of some kind. Again, we haven't seen that happen. Cross our fingers we never will. And then the last slide, there was also talk about, what does a PUD bring to the table? Well, we're asking for a variance to the RC2 PUD in that rather than 15,000 square foot minimum, we're looking to get 12,600 feet, which is a reduction of about 16%, and a minimum lot width of 90 feet rather than full 100 foot, which obviously is a 10% reduction. In exchange for that, and as part of this PUD, we're offering up a number of things. We have a site that has 37% open space, pretty extensive landscaping, entry trails, and amenities, including some park equipment, a 2.5 car garage standard, front yard irrigation, minimum of 30% masonry on the front elevation, and LP siding or fibrous cement versus vinyl siding. Those are all things that you might or might not get with an R1 zoning. In fact, you probably would not get those. And we tried to, the comment came up of value of that. So we asked our landscape design team to say, what do some of these things add to the package that are over and above what you would normally do? Obviously, you're going to have some landscaping, you're going to have parkway trees and things of that nature, but in this whole package, what does that add up to over and above? And it's about $400,000. Similarly, in our home values, over and above a typical R1 zoning, because we are adding a certain level of masonry, because we are having LP or hardy siding rather than vinyl, because we are having a 2.5 car, 3 car minimum, irrigation, all these things, it adds up in a value of about $36,000 to $70,000 per home. And so over the whole site, you're looking at somewhere between $2.3 and $4.2 million that we would be putting into it over and above a standard R1 zoning in order to have the option to do this PUD for basically two variances, one a little bit smaller lot in size from 15,000 to 12.6, and a 90-foot lot rather than a 100-foot lot. So we think it's a good value proposition, but ultimately that final decision rests with you. And with that, I will stop rambling and entertain any questions you might have.
I just want to say thank you for being so thorough. I think not only the PowerPoint presentation, but the printout was incredibly helpful to understand the benefits that you would bring as opposed to an R1. So I commend you for that and taking the time to go over.
Does that mean you're also going to help me carry these out when we get there? This was probably overkill, and I apologize. I didn't mean to make it like we're trying to knock you guys out with it, but we just want to show there's a variety, and we're going to take advantage of that variety. So,
Chip, I'd like to echo her positive attitude. You guys have done a really nice job working on the anti-monotony. You've done a beautiful job, quite impressive.
thank you.
And that is something that we're, looking forward to.
Well, and we've learned, right?
Absolutely.
You know,
It's a trade-off.
we've had challenges where we thought we had everything buttoned down and maybe it wasn't as buttoned down or in sync as we thought it was. But this really steps it up and takes it to a whole new level. So,
That's why I want to compliment you. You guys have done a nice job bringing this to the table.
thank you. Appreciate that.
It appears on all the front elevations of the homes, they're soffits. You're going to have soffits on the?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. I
Very
think it's
good.
at least 12 inch.
Okay, very good.
What's your normal overhang? Do you have one?
A 12 inch.
12?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think was that what you were referring to?
Yes.
The overhang? Yeah.
The soffit
Yep.
overhang.
Yeah,
There was-
and we've got a couple new plans that are in this mix, and they're actually pretty pretty darn slick looking. So we're very proud of them, and we think it'll come out nice.
I saw that you're gonna add windows on, you know, the
On the sides?
yeah,
and
you're gonna add probably just put a size, minimum size on the window. I saw that you're
Okay,
gonna do
yeah,
that.
we can do
but
that.
just-
And probably just, typical size, whatever it
Yeah.
is, but it's in the PUD, and I didn't mention it, and I apologize.
Now, the PUD will be, I mean, the actual agreement will be signed with each and every homeowner, is that correct?
Yes, certainly, yep. And we hand that out at closing. And we even talked to people beforehand, so there's no surprises. We don't want an irate homeowner.
Oh, absolutely.
We want everything to be upfront and clear. We pride ourselves on that, and we'll continue. Now, that's not to say that somebody down the road won't say, well, you never did this. Well, I think we did. And here's,
Been there, seen that.
It
yeah,
happens.
it happens,
yes.
right? People can say what they want to say, but we don't want there to be any problems with that kind of stuff. We want everybody to be happy with their purchase and the community they live in.
I think Joe, our town manager, brought up, and I don't know if this is the time to do it, White Oak Avenue, the entrance there. And Ken, maybe you can address, would that be the time we bring that up? Entrance, de-acceleration lane, or, what do we need there? Or is that something we do later?
No, that should be taken care of now.
Now? Okay.
Well,
So
yeah.
what's your plan? I don't see any de-accel lanes or on that.
Yeah, we're going to do whatever the city requires, and if we need to show, and we haven't got to the point where we're really doing any hard engineering at this point. But as we get into that with some preliminary, which we bring to you at like the public hearing, then we'll show all that on there, and we're going to do whatever we have to do to make sure we comply with the rules and regs.
And,
The board can ask for a traffic study of that intersection.
okay.
Say that again, I'm sorry?
The plan commission can ask for a traffic study for that intersection.
Yeah, and I guess, what are you recommending for 109th? Do we have that figured out for right-of-way and White Oak, what the right-of-way, dedicated right-of-way that will be? And do we have that kind of nailed down, or?
I think we know what it needs to be adjacent to the subdivision, but the two properties, the one at the corner and the one south of it, are they going to be included in the plating? Because you know that White Oak on the south of 109th does not line up with White Oak north
Right.
of 109th.
It's got what I would call an ugly jog.
Yep.
And you also have a challenge, maybe I can show you here. You also have a challenge where you've got a number of utility boxes right here, which, I'm guessing the electrical, there might be fiber, there might be a couple of things in there. So that'll certainly be something that needs to get worked out. We have no problem dedicating the right-of-way along our property and up on the corner. The one challenge would be the single-family house in between, right? And we talked about this in the past. We have no control over that home and that homeowner. I will say that we have spoken with that homeowner. They've been very pleasant. But, one of the conversations we had before was, what do you do with the bike trail? And we had showed something kind of ugly in past meetings where, yeah, exactly what Sergio was showing. We had shown, since we don't have any control of this, and we don't have this right of way, that you'd have to go around it, which is pretty ugly. We spoke to this property owner, and he said, here's where.
You probably should go back to the mic.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Give me a wireless mic, I start rolling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jason will be after
Yeah.
us.
So they're open to talking to the village, but that would be kind of a separate right-of-way dedication and annexation. And if that bike path were to go across the front, it's pretty close to the front of their house. So it's a rather delicate situation. Again, I will say they've been very pleasant to speak with, and they're open to talking to the village about figuring out how to make all that happen. But that's kind of a separate conversation that needs to happen. We're happy to facilitate that. And maybe part of what happens there, and I'm just offering this up, is if they were to annex in and give up right away, which they don't have to do, maybe between them and us and you, we work on some kind of tap fee reduction or elimination or something along those lines, and we bring we bring service back to their house from the rear or something to allow them to tap on should they have a desire to do that. So I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe I shouldn't even be saying it, but I'm just trying to be
No,
open and
it's,
honest with you.
it could be an option, you know? that-
Yeah, and there may be, there's probably a better idea, but that's something that could work, I think.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
at
they might
least-
be open to.
Yeah, at least throw it out there and
Yeah,
some horse trading going on and.
yeah.
I think they are.
But I think ideally, it would be perfect to have it come right down through the front of their property if we could work with them and all figure something out.
Yeah, what is it, is it Summerlin Estates?
Somerset, I know.
No, there's something.
That's gonna be some kind of problem there.
Isn't White Oak South a county road, Ken?
I believe so, but was this annexed into,
Yes,
with the annexation of this property, that half of the road across that frontage becomes town property?
Okay.
So, yeah, we definitely need the right of way and, I would think minimum would be a DXL lane.
We'll have problems with these people.
I could see that, yep.
Yeah,
right.
I don't, you know, I don't know what else.
That this,
Well, you'll probably want a left turn lane too. I don't know.
That's why you need a traffic study.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
gonna be condensed.
Yeah, we can have that done.
Okay.
You have a total of 47 properties right there, right? Parcels.
54?
54? Oh, I'm sorry, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
okay. 54. How many parcels would you have if it was, I'm sorry, thank you. How many parcels would you have if it was just R1?
42,
42?
yes, sir.
Because I'm looking at the parcels that are located on would be the east side, would it be?
Against
West-
White Oak?
West.
West side,
West
uh-huh.
side. Those are R1 properties,
Yeah,
parcels, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
It's
you
it's
can
another
tell.
project of ours.
Yeah, there's gonna be some kind of commotion there, because you have properties, you're gonna,
Well, we don't believe there will be, and as a result of the last meeting, or last two meetings, we had made changes, because there was a conversation, I know, with Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Burleson brought up comments about that. So what we did was, we increased the rear yard setback on those lots 1 and 2. And that lot in Summerlin, just to the west there, which is kind of, gray colored, that's a 20,000 square foot lot. It's a big lot. It's got a huge side yard.
which one is that?
The one just behind, yeah, there you go.
Oh, that one,
Right there,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, those are our full R1s. So what we did was, we made half of that, we kind of lost a lot or moved the lots around, so you've got green space by the front of that lot, to the right of it there.
Those are R1s, yeah.
Yeah, so south of 1, we kind of made that green space to accommodate that person, and then also increased the rear yard setback for lots 1 and 2 to make sure they're further away. So between that and the size of that lot, I mean, if you drive through there, it's like house, big gap, house, they've got huge side yards.
It would be noticeable that there are R2 lots right there right away, because there's highly packed together. And that's a lot,
Well,
a lot of
Yeah,
houses, a lot of cement, a lot of,
there's a lot of people that don't want 20,000 square feet.
well, that's true. I think
And so
they could-
we're kind of trying to meet different needs here, right? We're
It's a
meeting that
marketing.
need to the west, and then here, we're making it a little bit smaller because, not everybody wants to spend 3 hours Saturday cutting the grass.
Well,
Maybe an
plus
hour is enough, so
And you're looking at senior citizen complex there.
that would be another opportunity.
That would
Probably
be
not on
called
this
a
site
senior-
at this point, but sure. And we would,
because then
we'd
it would-
probably like to do something like that. Something like the McFarland Villas and things of that nature. You've got a whole bunch of,
I mean, there's a lot of good arguments.
yeah,
pro-
you've got quite a bit of that on Calumet Avenue now.
right, and that's what happened.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, different pockets and different opportunities and a variety is a good thing.
So lot 1 and 2, the rear yard setback, you.
Increased, like
From
30 to 40 feet, I think it is.
30 to 40?
Yeah,
Okay.
don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure that's what we said. In fact, it's probably in the PUD and, let's see if I got a copy of it here. Yeah, lots 1 and 2 on page 7, lots 1 and 2, the rear yard setback has been increased from 30 feet to 40 feet.
Okay. So how long is it gonna take to do the traffic study?
Um,
And are you looking for September 7th to vote on this, or?
Yeah, we would like to get a vote, and then obviously it'll go to council. But we've got, before we get into like final engineering, we got quite a bit of time to make sure that we get everything buttoned down. And we have plenty of real estate to be able to do whatever we need to do on White Oak Avenue. So I'm not terribly concerned. I'm gonna take a wild guess that, a gentleman who does most of our traffic studies could not have that done between now and then, but it would all be subject to, and whatever the traffic study says we gotta do, we'll do.
Are you guys comfortable with that? Okay.
Yeah, we're not,
We're missing a few members.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
there's
I
three of them,
understand.
I believe.
and again, this
is.
isn't a vote, but I want to, I want your feedback, and,
Yeah.
so,
I know but the trade-off could still be big, like you got Continental.
I don't have any more questions. You guys got any more questions?
Mr. Chair, I just would mention that I don't believe the applicant has submitted the draft of the covenants, conditions, or restrictions for the subdivision. And under the town ordinance, that is required to be included as part of the PUD development plan.
Okay.
So that would also have to be submitted. I would have to have the opportunity to review that in advance of
Okay.
Plan Commission's vote.
not a problem.
So
I think we have submitted a sample one from Summerlin next door, which was virtually identical, and our current one's being worked on right at this moment. We'll probably have that in just a couple days, and we'll turn that into Sergio and
Well, I
make sure you
guess
have time.
Sergio will talk to John in the meantime, and if you're good, if you guys are good for the 7th, go ahead. If not,
Let us know.
yeah.
Will do.
And then also, we'll want to make sure that that language looks appropriate, and if you see anything in there that you think we may need to change, we can do that as well for the HOA.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Decker, for bringing that up. Okay, I think that's all we have.
Okay, thank you for your comments and your thoughts tonight, and appreciate it, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you.
And I'll try to be quiet about, I might just wait, actually, I might be more polite.
Next item, item D, Cannons Edition, proposed rezone and preliminary plat for a two-lot subdivision at 8167 Wicker Avenue.
Howdy.
Please state your name and address.
Zach Cannon, Mark Cannon, 8167 Wicker Avenue. We're just here for, our plan for September 7th for the final plat and the rezone. So yeah, we just have,
So I just want to correct or update. The request for September 7th is for a public hearing for a rezone. It is, and then they would be asking not for a final plat, a preliminary plat.
On the same day?
Yes. If all is acceptable to the town engineer and their surveyor engineer. So that is their request. Upon receiving preliminary approval, they can begin infrastructure to the proposed Lot 2. Once that is completed, they can request for final plat approval and get the lot recorded. I think the changes that you see are the utilities were then moved to the north side of Lot 1 to accommodate access for Lot 2, and that was discussion that occurred between the engineers as well, so. Rather than running it through the easement.
Okay. The water's there too? Yeah, I
Yes.
see it.
Right. And both of those lines, I consider service lines and not main trunk sewers. So I know Sergio had written an email to Zach and mentioned about sewer and water mains, but neither one of these are a main. These are service lines.
Yeah. And you have wide enough easement, you feel, to get those two?
Oh,
I know
yeah.
they're fairly shallow, the sewer's
He's got a
pretty shallow.
15-foot easement on there, and he can, and since these are service lines, you don't have to abide by the 10-foot separation between those two, water and sewer, but Glenn did make them 10 feet apart, which is great, because you have the room to do it. So that's good. I think the only waivers that I know of are curbs and sidewalk on the highway, is what they're asking for.
Okay.
That's still the case?
That's absolutely, yep. And the only really question I had was just, me and Sergio have been discussing about the infrastructure installed that is required, the sewer, water, et cetera.
Well, that's what I was just commenting on. I view those as part of the house construction.
Okay.
And not part of the subdivision,
Okay,
because they're service lines
Okay.
for
So
the
it
house.
doesn't have to be marked or anything before the next meeting, or do we need somebody to?
yeah, should we have like, do we need to have like the town or NIPSCO out there for those
No,
kind of things?
no, you don't need to do that until after you got primary plat approval.
Okay,
And then you can get well, you have to get secondary plat before you can get a building permit.
right,
But once you get the secondary plat approved, you can get your building permit, then you can put those 2 service lines in.
okay.
Excellent.
And I have taken care of, I can actually drop it off maybe tomorrow or Friday, but I do have the notice already. We ended up going with our meets and bounds description for our rezone, since we haven't technically gotten the Lot 2 legal description, but we have posted in both the papers and notified everyone. So we did our subdivision to our 300 feet neighbors in June, and then just earlier this week, we took care of the rezone in the paper as well.
Okay.
The only other thing that I had, and I think Adam and Sergio were going to check on the address, whether you can have 2 primary structures on the same lot with the same address, or do they need to have separate addresses? And then the other thing I had is, if you look on the south property line, there's a easement, and the little jog out on the residence sticks out into that easement a little bit. But I really don't have a problem with it. It just means that if that house burned down to the point where you had to replace it, you couldn't build out into the easement there on the next building.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see might be a fireplace or whatever, I see it sticking out,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's only,
Yeah.
I don't know, a foot, maybe? It's barely into it. And
Yeah.
as far as I know, the only thing that would go in there could be put in on the other side of the property line, since there's a 15-foot easement across there for electric and AT&T and cable TV, and
Sure.
all those can be in that easement on the south side of that line, too.
Yeah. It looks like there's a water line there already
Yeah, that's the service line for the house.
for the
Right,
house.
yeah, correct.
That does not need to be in an easement. It's a service line you can run on your property, goes with
Right,
the house.
yeah, you don't need it, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so just to clarify, for our September 7th public, we do not have to,
Yeah, there's nothing we need to comply with. or
yeah,
have
is there,
done or
yeah, is there anything
show
on?
I don't believe
to
so.
move forward.
Okay,
Yeah.
nothing on our end?
Just the notice in the paper.
Yeah, the notice in the
Yeah, the note,
paper.
which
I-
they should have
Yeah,
out.
that's-
I forgot, she quoted me if it would be tomorrow or Friday. But
Primary-
the Times and the Tribune did say something about, I think they said Friday,
Proposed maintenance.
the
I
18th.
don't,
What
I
is
don't see
today?
it on this one, if they included
Yeah,
it.
so tomorrow.
I haven't
It'll
received
be in the
anything
paper tomorrow.
about that.
So, Mr. Chairman, just a couple of things. I had, following the regular meeting, drafted a proposed, proposed language to be included in the plat regarding future maintenance responsibilities between Lot 1 and Lot 2. I don't think that's been included in the plat that's been presented.
Okay, Glenn didn't include
I
that?
think that just needs to be on the secondary plat, doesn't it? Or does it have to be on the primary?
No, well, I think you're correct. If as long as it's included in the secondary plat,
Okay,
I
so-
think that would be sufficient. But I just did not see that in the primary plat, so I just wanted to make that point. Also, the zone change request ultimately requires town council action. And they'll have time following the vote of the Plan Commission at the September meeting to review and consider that request for the change in the zone maps. But ultimately, that will go to the town council for final review.
And as far as the town council, is that something that the board handles, or do we personally need to reach out to, like, you know what I'm saying, like, for the town council? I understand.
Yeah,
that
we make a favorable, unfavorable recommendation,
Okay.
then it goes to the council.
Okay, so I don't have to like email.
That I'm not on the council, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, Mr. Chairman, the council sets its agenda.
Sets it, yeah.
There will be a certification from the Plan Commission to the town council. They'll have 90 days within which to consider and act on that. So.
Okay.
Normally, we put it on the agenda as soon as it arrives.
Okay. Good to know. Okay.
And I believe that Glenn did address the address issue as well as the,
According to his email, he did say that he was going to include the easement. I did
and
get
the verbiage that he wants on
Yeah.
the agreement.
Yeah. And I did read over what you made up. Thank you for doing that. It looks fine.
Okay, we good?
All right. All right.
It?
Okay. All right. Good deal.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Next item on the list, E, Shops 96, propose amended secondary plat to PUD at approximately 96 Place and Wicker Avenue.
Thanks, sir.
No, thank you.
Good evening, Doug Reddick with DVG, representing Shops 96. Bruce Boyer is here as well. If you have any questions specifically for Bruce, but I wanted to bring something to everybody's attention. Some of you on the Plan Commission when Shops 96 was approved a couple of years ago. You've seen the activity out there, but we have some cleanup work to do that a lot of you may not even be aware of, and that's why we're here tonight. One of the next things that's going to happen at Shops 96, the way I understand it, is another retail building on lot 2, which is just east of the Wendy's that's out there. But when we platted the original plat for Shops 96, the roadway 96 Place was going to go in a different location. And what I just handed you is a brand new GIS photograph, 2022. It shows all the new buildings. They just updated the GIS site, and now the 2022 photographs are on there as of a couple days ago. And this very clearly illustrates the yellow lines are the roadway where it was originally platted, when we were talking about putting in a roundabout and everything. Then very clearly you can see where the roadway was built. So right now we have a road that's not built within the right-of-way per the plat. So what we're here to talk about and do in the coming weeks is amend the plat to show the right-of-way where the road truly is. And it's easiest to see, rather than looking at the plats, looking at the GIS photograph, you can see where it was proposed and where the road physically lies. So we had to write all kinds of legal descriptions because of the different lots that are already platted. All the lot owners in the whole subdivision will have to sign off on the plat. They've all been aware of this because this has been going on for quite some time. But because the next thing that he wants to do is build on lot 2, we need to get that lot and those lot lines cleaned up to meet and match the existing roadway. That's basically why we're doing the amended plat. If I missed anything, Bruce, please correct me. But that's really what's going on. We wanted to get the right-of-way to line up with the roadway alignment. And the roadway was moved because of the bad soil, as a lot of you remember.
Okay. This is a good thing, so Yeah,
Yeah, it makes sense to
it
me.
just needs to be done.
yeah.
So, I guess for a point of order, if we're amending the PUD, and I don't know, Mr. Decker, do we need to go public hearing and everything, or is it simply just a amendment? I guess I hadn't even thought about that yet myself.
Well,
And do you remember, Bruce, how it's worded? If we have to amend the PUD? Is it a one-meeting process?
I believe Bruce Boyer of Boyer Properties, the original PUD allowed for amendments to the plat to be done at the Plan Commission level rather than a BZA.
So just,
It's just simple Plan Commission approval.
and I would presume it'd be a public hearing still.
Yeah, I would think it has to, I think it's actually worded, it has to be a public meeting.
well, if I may, and I'm sorry to interject, Mr. Boyer, the reading from the zoning ordinance regarding specific changes to the PUD plan, it provides that any subsequent change or addition to an approved PUD development plan shall be submitted to the town manager, who may approve minor changes to the plan, provided that the town manager makes a written finding that the revised plan complies with the PUD standards in this chapter and complies with all conditions imposed on the PUD. A minor change involves items such as small shift in the location of parking spaces or a dumpster, realignment of parking spaces, change in building materials. All major changes shall be submitted to the Plan Commission and may only be approved after a public hearing. A major change involves one or more of the following: reduction in parking spaces, reduction in open space, reduction in landscaping, relocation of an access drive or detention facility, and other items. And so I would submit that, in my opinion, this probably qualifies as a major change, which simply would require a vote or approval by the Plan Commission following a public hearing. So I think it's probably necessary that we have a public.
That's kind of what we thought too.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will plan on doing that as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Any other questions? We're good?
Oh, do you guys have any questions? No? It's pretty straightforward, so.
See us
I know,
again.
I was
right?
just gonna say, the game's over.
in.
The road can be changed.
Do I have any discussion, anything? Adjourn? Okay. Adjourn?